Well, hey there, everybody. How y'all doing? Hope everybody's having a wonderful day or night, and welcome back to my channel. As always, I'm Deluxe. All right, let's do another 40 years of Transformers. Yeah, I've been doing this little thing. I've been doing combiners. It's going over 40 years of their toys and stuff, and what give you options out there, what you can have in your collection and everything. And I try to go over everything that I possibly can. I may forget one, here and there, but yeah, I've been going over, third party, legends, official G1 stuff, and everything. Like I said, I did the combiners, did all the combiners. I may go back and do the Seacons. I don't know for sure yet, but I'm going to start doing the Titans. I'm really excited for this. So you got Metroplex, Scorponok, Trypticon, all, so forth, everything. But first, we're going to start with Metroplex. So yeah, quite a few of choices of him. Like I said, it's just an option, basically a video of giving you options of what out there for your collection and everything. So I really hope you like this thing. I hope you like the combiner one. If you don't mind, go back and watch those. I did quite a few of those and everything. So yeah, so hit me up on like, shares, prayers, and care bears. Hit that sub button as always and everything. So yeah, let's get right to it and talk about Metroplex. Like I said, he does have three little friends of his. He's got Six Gun, you got Slammer and Scamper as well. I'll go over, there's some options to go over with them too as well, just along with Metroplex and everything. So yeah, let's just get right to it, and we're going to talk about some third party and all that good stuff from Metroplex. Let's go. Freaking love this. Let's go. All right, up first, we're going to talk about Mate Toys, and this is Utopia, and this guy's beefy. Now, I have this guy, like I said, he is just guy. He didn't miss shoulder or leg day or anything like that. Really beefy and everything. Now, he was MP scale at that time when he came out. Now, he would probably be considered chug scale now, since there are some bigger versions come out of him, everything. But like I said, I do have him. Pretty cool. Easy transformation, does the whole, triple changer. It's got the, the base mode. He also has the kind of vehicle mode, if you want to call it, and everything that stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. Now they did a recolor, which is the Metro Titan. They called him Dystopia. I didn't get that one. I did get the recolor. It's just a, basic recolor of him and everything. And he, pretty cool. Same weapons and everything. So very nice. So yeah, there you go. There is Make Toys, and that's the Utopia. And he also had their Dystopia of their Metro Titan. All right, then we move on to the divorce class. This is the Luen Resources. This was the big mammoth jamma. I think he was, I want to say 4 feet, over 4 feet tall, I think it was. He just, started, at the beginning of the year, end of the year, they started shipping off this guy. They had to ship it off in like, 4 or 5 different parts. He's a big guy and everything. I didn't go in on this one. I wish I kind of would have. I just don't really think I had room for him. But a lot of people got him and everything. But man, this thing was huge. He transformed as well. He transformed to the, the three modes he has and all that stuff. There's a lot of pictures of, adults and kids next to him showing how big he is and everything. So pretty cool. Now there has been some issues with him. There's, some easily breakage and stuff and everything. And that's been pointed out some of the reviewers and everything. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go in on him, but wasn't too bad. I want to say it was like, don't quote me. I think it was around $1,500 after all said and done. I may be off on that, but he was, pretty, he was a pretty penny, but he was a huge buy. Like I said, he was huge. Yeah, there you go. There was Luen Resources, the divorce class of Metroplex. Man, golly. And there's another one about the size of the Luen Resources. This was Light Toys. Now, I don't think this has been released or anything like that, but this was more of a G1 take on Metroplex. The Luen Resources was, stylized. It still had the G1 aspect to it, but it, a little more stylized than what this one was. Now, so, like I said, I don't think this one has been released yet, or I don't know if they're ever going to do it. I think this was shown a long time ago. They did show some prototype pics. I do have some prototype pics of him and everything, but I don't think overall he's been released or anything like that. If anybody does have any information on him, definitely hit me in the comments and everything. But like I said, this was a another big mamma jamma of Metroplex, but more of a G1 style instead of the stylized that the Luen Resources was and everything. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So there you go. This was Light Toys, and this was their Metroplex. All right, up next we have 01 Studios, another ones that did the Primus and the Unicron, and they showed us a Metroplex at the TFCon Baltimore last year. We got a bunch of render pics. Hadn't heard anything since then, but they do got some stuff coming out. They got some Constructicons that recently they're going to be, getting out and everything. But they did show a little what he's going with scale wise. He's going to be a little bigger than Primus, but hey, once again, beefy. Look at that chest. He did not miss chest, arm, or leg day at all. But it looks pretty good. I'm excited. A lot of people were excited whenever they announced it at the TFCon Baltimore. Man, they announced a lot of great stuff that's coming out from Bingo Toys, with their Computron and everything. But this is pretty good. Like I said, it's going to have a all the base modes and everything, and it looks pretty good. I'll probably definitely be in it. Like I said, I love me some Metroplex. But yeah, this was 01 Studios, and hopefully we'll hear something, later down the line, maybe this year, maybe see some prototype pics. They did show a bunch of renders and everything. And yeah, this is 01 Studios, and this is their version of a Metroplex. All right, so moving on, there were a couple things with their, little buddies he have, a six gun slammer and a scamper. So there was a company called Before and After, and they did a six gun. And this one was supposed to go along with the Generations Metroplex that were released. But I had one of them. There was two versions. There was the one that had the black arms, and then the one that had the red arms. I had the one with the red arms. I think the black one was maybe the toy deco, and the red one would have been probably the maybe the cartoon or something like that. I'm not for sure. Don't quote me on that or anything like that. But there, like I said, there were two versions and everything. It took, it was pretty cool. I still have him. To turn into the robot, and you could turn into the guns and stuff and everything, and add them on to other stuff as well. Basically, an add-on kit what he was, but pretty good. Like I said, yeah. But this was before and after, and this is a version of a six gun. All right. Also, speaking of six gun, there was a Transformers. There was a TFC Toys Gears of War six gun, and once again, basically a parts former. And I think this one went to Generation Metroplex as well. They have some pictures of him together. But man, look at those forearms, man. And it looks like he could scratch his toes without it bending over, man. That's how long his arms are and everything. But I didn't get this set. I don't even know anything about it until I saw it, saw some pictures of it. But yeah, like I said, it's basically a add-on kit. You just, take them apart and everything. But man, those forearms are huge. But like I said, I think they go with the Generations, Metroplex and everything. So there you go. There is TFC Toys, and this was the Gears of War, and this is their six gun. All right, let's move on to the Legend scale of their Metroplex. And then up first going to be Dr. Woo Woo Woo. And this is their Iron Fortress. And I had this guy. Now, he was basically a Ford changer. He turned into the little base mode. He turned into his vehicle mode. And he also turned into a cube like the 5-2 Toys, which I love and everything. But this guy is freaking awesome, just fun, easy transformation, just so much playability. You do get a scamper, you also get a six gun and a slammer to go with him, and they all turn into stuff you can add on to him and everything. But like I said, really fun, just great. Now there was a couple options. You had the Metro Titan as well, a recolor. Now you had a blue visor and a green visor choice with him and everything. But man, I would love if they did another one, like maybe a damaged version. That would be pretty cool. And it definitely went with their Triptychon that they put out, a year ago or something like that. But yeah, this is so much fun. I highly, highly recommend if you like the Legend scale, kind of the beefy, chibi style kind of thing going on. But yeah, this was Doctor Woo Woo Woo, and this is their Iron Fortress or their Metroplex. And man, he is so much fun. And speaking of like chibi, super deformed style, we got Master Maiden. This was their, Metroplex as well. I never got any of these guys. I really heard a lot of great things about these. They did also, like Triptychon, Omega, Scorponok. They did all the bases and everything, and they transformed, like I said, but they were, really beefy, and they kind of took the, Dr. Wu kind of took what they did too as well. But yeah, like I said, I've heard some really great things. I may try to go back and get some of these, but I've heard some really good things about all the Master Maid stuff and everything. So yeah, this one looks pretty cool. But yeah, this was Master Maid, and this is where their super deformed or chibi style of a Metroplex. All right, so Iron Factory also made a Slammer and a six gun. These were one of the early releases from them. Like they did a Blaster and Perceptor 2-pack, I think it was, and everything. I had these as well. These will go with the Generations Metroplex or any Metroplex, really, to be honest. They are stylized just like Iron Factory was back in the day and still are. The new Generations Metroplex came with a Scamper, which was the black car, and then they gave these two options. Now, these were a 2-pack. Just like I think Blaster and Perceptor and some of the earlier ones. But like I said, I do have these. They're pretty cool. And like I said, they are, you can break six gun down and use them as weapons and stuff. So there you go. There's Iron Factory, and they gave us a six gun and Slammer 2-pack. And the last we're going to talk about in Legend scale, we have Seng Culture, and they gave us a Velada stock and everything. He's their Metroplex. I had this guy once again, and he's pretty cool. Now, he did have a lot of features. A lot of people have had issues with their lots, and I did mine as well. I think I said in my review, if they would have, maybe cut those out and saved us 20, 30 bucks, that would have been pretty cool. But it's always cool to have a lot of features. You have the option and everything. But yeah, this guy's pretty cool. He's, I guess the scale is okay for, especially for like Dr. Wu stuff. He is perfect. But some of the other stuff, maybe not, Magic Square and the New Age and everything, Iron Factory and all that stuff. But still a great bot. I have him, he's awesome. They did a Triptychon too as well. Was no, I'm sorry, they did a Scorponok. Trypticon was another company, but we'll talk about that later on with those two characters. But yeah, this Metroplex pretty cool. I like him. Easy transformation, fun, all the good stuff and everything, and just a great option to have as a legend scale for your Metroplex. So there you go. There is Seng Culture, and they gave us a Metroplex, and they also gave us a 2-pack of the 6 gun and Scamper. Now they did come with Slammer, which was the white tank. But they also gave us options of 6 gun scamper, and once again, you can use 6 gun as weapons and stuff, and use them as add-ons, all that good stuff and everything. So yeah, that was a 2-pack, everything that came on later after this Metroplex. Yeah, but pretty cool. Sing on Culture Metroplex with their 6 gun and scamper. Awesome, awesome. Let's go. All right, let's move on to official, and we have the G1 toy version. And man, I didn't ever have one of these. I don't. The only base I had was I got Triptychon for Christmas one year, so I had Triptychon, but I never had their Metroplex. And Metroplex was was mortal enemies with Triptychon and everything. They had some battles, and it was really nice. But yeah, this was pretty cool. I have one now, but yeah, I remember back in day, you could use this for playability as well. You could use all the combiners like Silverbolt, Hotspot, Motormaster, Onslaught could connect to him in city mode, and you had like a little helipad you could use for blades from the protective bots and everything. You can do that and everything. And he came with 6 guns, Slammer, and Scamper. I mean, he had the had a shooting mechanism for the weapon or for his guns and everything. I remember that. I do miss that. Thanks to child safety laws, you can't really have that anymore. But I do miss that. It's pretty cool. He also went through some changes and everything. So I think he was released with rubber tires, and then eventually moved on to just like forms of like a different tires. They were just basically plastic and everything. They took off the rubber tires and everything. So, and they also had fully chromed silver with the upper legs would change, also changed and everything. So, went through changes and everything. So, if you had the earlier version with the rubber tires, I think it's worth a little more than what the regular ones now are. Everything, but yeah, pretty cool. They also had a Metro Titan as well. This was a recolor of the Metroplex and everything. They had the original, and they also had knockoffs of this Metroplex. They also had knockoffs of the Metropolitan. I'm not Metropolitan. Come on now, Metro Titan and everything. So they had a bunch of knockoffs, just like all the G1 stuff's been knockoff lately. And then they also had the Encore version, which was a reissue of the Metroplex, but it was official and everything. So that was pretty cool. I didn't get the Encore. I remember they did Encore of him, like Skylink, some other ones too as well. So that was pretty cool. But there you go. There is Metroplex, and he came out in 1986, and it was also called the Autobot City. And that's awesome, man. I wish I had one when I was a kid, but I'm glad I have one in my collection now. All right, so there was a Transformer Junior. They called him Metroplex instead of Plex. They had an F instead of a P. This Transformer version of Metroplex shrinks and simplifies the original toy, omitting his city mode, so he only had 2 modes in this one. All of his partners, Scamper, Slammer, and 6 gun did not come with. They just replaced it with a kind of a black rifle gun and everything. So basically, they took everything and just made him a little cheap and everything. But there you go. There's another option of Metroplex, and this is from a Transformer Junior Metroplex. Awesome. All right, moving on to Generations. Man, I remember when this guy came out. There was a lot of hype for this guy. This came out in 2013, considered Titan Class. It was part of the Thrilling 30 anniversary campaign. He was standing about 24 inches tall, which was 2 feet, which was one of the biggest ever, in huge letters on the box. He will maintain the title of largest transformer ever for a few more than 3 years, edged out by Fortress Maximus, which beat him and everything. So basically, like I said, he was a triple changer. He did the base mode. He had the alt mode as well, or the vehicle mode if you want to call it, or kind of a I don't know, moving fortress base mode. Highly articulated, all that good stuff and everything. Like I said, they did make some add-on parts for him throughout. Third party did that and everything. Now, remember his hips were really loosey goosey and all that stuff. It was sometimes he was hard to stand up and everything. I still have one. There were a couple options of him, for Generations. And like I said, they had the Takara version, which had probably better paint job. Back then they did better paints and all that good stuff for him. They also did a San Diego Comic Con Metroplex, which was a 2013 release. Once again, different kind of version of him and everything, pretty hard to get. And then they did a Legends reissue for Takara in 2018 as well. So they reissued him back in 2018. Like I said, they did have a bunch of upgrade kits for him. and they also came with Scamper. They did some, better hips and all that stuff. Different weapons, I think. Different hands, I think, for him. All that good stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. So there you go. There was Generations Metroplex, and this was a Titan class back in 2013. Man, 2 feet tall. That was pretty big. That's awesome. And then we had another one for Metroplex, or they call it Metroplex, Transformers Gum. So a snap together model kit of Metroplex was available as part of the fifth wave of the Cabaya's Transformers Gum Candy toy series. Much shrunken version of the original Metroplex toy. The kit can only transform into battle station mode, so only that didn't turn into the base mode. It does not come with any of the Metroplex partners once again, but does retain some of the features of like the larger figures, such as the opening garage door to flip down the missile rack, molded from black, red, and gray plastic. He had stickers as detail rather than paint operations. Everything also came with a stick of gum, so that's awesome. I wonder if they still have this one boxed, and I wonder if that gum just like radioactive or something like that. Probably nasty. But there you go. There was a Transformers Gum Metroplex, and they also released a Transformers Ramune thing and a formed Robo. So basically, no figures of Metroplex were released in Hasbro, part of their 1987 decoy promotion. But they did release this one from exclusively from release for the Kabaya in Japan, also part of the Transformers Ramune line. And everything were sold as blind pack box and are available in red, blue, and yellow colors. And then Metroplex was also part of the Forms Robo collection, a larger decoy style figure with the versions of characters standing around about twice the height as a regular decoy. They had the first wave. Metroplex was packed in individual baggies and available in red, blue, green, and yellow versions. I think the red was a chase or a harder to get version, but it would have been pretty cool for the Hate Plague. That would have been awesome. So there you go. There was Transformers Ramune and Formed Robo of Metroplex. And then there was also called a Soft Robo. This large vinyl figurine of Metroplex was packaged with the Autobot insignia badge. And they also did repackage him with a water gun set back in 1987. The large vinyl figure of Metroplex also available in a Versus figurine set, along with a Decepticon insignia badge, a water pistol, and 2 randomly packaged peach-colored Autobot decoys. And everything. So that's pretty cool. So they'd be pretty cool to have in your collection. So there you go. This was a soft robo version of Metroplex. All right. So I know this is not a action figure or anything like that, but I do remember seeing these. I never was dressed up back in Halloween. But that back in 1986, they did release a bunch of Halloween costumes. I remember they had Optimus Prime, and they had Ultra Magnus, and I think Superion, some other ones. But Metroplex was a lesser known character back then. But they did release a Halloween set of him. I remember those things, man. You couldn't breathe them. They're so hot and everything. And then the suit you had was just really plastic, and it just melted to you, especially in the South where I'm from and everything. But I do remember. I remember when back in when grade school you used to dress up as Halloween characters and everything, and you would go to school and get candy and all that stuff. I remember that. But I do remember seeing Metroplex and a bunch of other Transformer ones. They did He-Man and a bunch of other cartoons back then. But yeah, I just thought I'd throw this in. Pretty cool, kind of reminisce of back in the day and everything. So there you go, Halloween costume of Metroplex. All right, then we had the Heroes of Cybertron or Super Collection figure back in 2001. Now, the 2001 was a Build-A-Figure. You had to buy a bunch of other ones like RC. I think Convoy was part of one, Megatron, Rodimus, Thundercracker, and Ultra Magnus, and everything. And then you got a little, Build-A-Figure piece with those, and then you could build Metroplex. They also had a clear version as well. I think that might have been a chase figure. But then they did a Heroes of Cybertron version back in 2003, and you also got, you got everything with it and all that stuff. So yeah, these pretty cool. They didn't transform, just small little things of plastic and everything. I have a bunch of these. They're pretty cool. So there you go. Heroes of Cybertron and Super Collection figure. This is their Metroplex. And also back in 2003, there was a My Clone type of release. And this was the third wave of the My Clone line of Transformer PC figures, just like the Heroes of Cybertron. Adorable little Metroplex comes with a white display stand, which can link up with other identical stands included with other My Clone figures and all that stuff. So yeah, there you go. There's another PVC figure of Metroplex, and that was My Clone. All right, moving on, we got Siege 6-Gun. So this was part of the War Cybertron trilogy with Siege and everything, and they had weaponizers, what they were called, and they did one for 6-Gun. And he's pretty cool. I like it. Like I said, you can take him apart. You can make him into his alt mode, which was kind of like a spaceship kind of thing going on. But then you can use the weapons to arm up other siege figures or Earthrise or whatever, which ones you want to do and everything. So lots of fun, lots of playability with these things that are really awesome, and 6 of them are really cool. And they also did a Kingdom Slammer same concept, kind of a weaponizer. He had the alt mode and a bot mode, turns into the tank and everything. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, you could weaponize other figures and all that stuff, or you can go with Generations Metroplex, or however you want to do it. Use it, have some fun. Like I said, the playability is there. So there you go. There were two options for their Siege 6 gun and Kingdom Slammer. All right. So the last one we're going to talk about, and it's not G1 Metroplex, it's going to be Cybertron Metroplex. So this was from Leader Class from 2005 to 2006. They had a giant planet cyber planet key kind of a gimmick they had to activate stuff that's like Armada had the mini cons. This one was Cybertron key. So he basically he transformed into a bucket wheel excavator. In the mold, you could also use him for numerous had numerous ratchet joints, plus the wheel can spin. He also had a weapon in bot mode called the Spark Drinker, and everything, and that was pretty cool. Like I said, the vehicle mode was basically him just bidding over on fours, and you put the weapon on top of him. It's kind of weird and everything, but like I said, he had different robot modes, a full size standard mode, and he had a shorter, sturdier, more of a work mode that you could do as well, and everything. So that's pretty cool. Now they also released a legacy version back in 2022, Titan Class. This was Cybertron Universe Metroplex. He stood about 22 inches tall, which is pretty big. Wasn't, mostly accurate to the source material from the original one, but there were changes. They did not give him a drill bit, which was a minicon. For some reason, Hasbro doesn't like minicons anymore, so they didn't give him anything like that. But he basically transformed the same way, all fours, and you had the little weapon on top of him. Everything had light popping, stuff like that and everything. So that's pretty cool. I do have both of these, and I think I like them. They're all right. It's kind of an odd choice to use as a Titan class back in 2022, but they still released him and everything. Now they did some upgrades for him as well. For the Legacy one, they did a drill bit and they did some different hands and better articulation for the weapon and all that stuff. Shockwave Lab did a couple missile pods and some weapons too as well. Some light up features, and that's pretty cool. So that was awesome. So yeah, there you go. There was a Cybertron Metroplex, and like I say, it was different from the G1, but I think it was pretty cool. So yeah, Cybertron and a Legacy Cybertron Universe Metroplex. Awesome. It's awesome. All right, folks, that's it for Metroplex. Man, that was fun. I love doing these. Just to give you kind of the options of what's out there. There's some pretty good options. Make Toys are pretty good. Like I said, it's more chug scale now. You got that divorce class, Luen Resources. I wish I kind of went in on that guy, but if you have him, definitely hit me in the comments. Tell me what you think of him and all that good stuff. And you also had Dr. Woo Woo Woo. You had that version. Is awesome. You have the Seng Culture, which is really good. I have that one. The 01 Studios looks promising. I'm really excited for that. And you have all the G1 options, and you have Cybertron Metroplex too, if you like that option too. So yeah, basically I'll just give you what options are out there for your Metroplex collection. Like I'll do some more. I may do Scorponok and Tripticon. You got Fort Max, down there. Omega Supreme. I'll do those as well. I can't wait for those. So yeah, hit me with some likes, shares, prayers, and Care Bears. Hit that sub button for me if you don't mind. And yeah, hit me with some comments. Tell me which ones do you have in your collections? Which one do you like? Which one do you hope somebody does? And another company might do one or something like that. Fans Toys might could do a Metroplex. That would be awesome. So I guess I'll see you in the next, 40 years of Transformers. And as always, be good to yourself. Man, hell freaking Transformers. And man, hell freaking Metroplex. And good night, folks. Like I said, love doing these. It's a great time to be a Transformer collector. And it's so much fun. Y'all, good night, folks.